All right, now let's talk about users. So by default, Docker runs our application with the root user that has the highest privileges. So that can open up security holes in our system. So to run this application, we should create a regular user with limited privileges. But before doing that in the Docker file, let's open up a shell session on Alpine Linux and play with a few commands. Now, if you're a Windows user, I still want you to follow along. Even though the commands I'm going to show you are not going to be relevant, the approach I'm taking is absolutely relevant. So take this approach and implement it on top of Windows. You just have to use different commands, okay? So we're going to run Docker run in the interactive mode, Alpine. So here we have a shell session. Now, in this image, we don't have the user add command. Instead, we have add user, okay? So look at these options. There are two options we're going to use. One of them is -G for setting the primary group of the user, and the other is -S for creating a system user. We're going to use a system user because this user is not a real user. It's just for running an application, okay? Now, before using this command, we have to create a group so we can add this user to that group, okay? So to do that, we're going to use add group. We're going to give this group a name, let's say app, okay? Now we can run add user, -S for creating a system user, -G for setting the primary group, which is app, and finally we specify the name of the user. We're going to use the same name. This is a common best practice in Linux. So whenever we create a new user, we create a primary group for that user with the same name, okay? Now we have a new user. Let's verify that this user is in the right group. So we type groups, app. This shows the groups for the app user. Perfect. Now, we're going to combine these two commands into a single command. So let's create another group and a user. We type add group. We can say mosh or whatever. We use double ampersand to combine two commands. Add user, -S, -G, mosh, mosh. So we used a single command to perform two tasks, okay? Now let's verify the groups for mosh. Perfect. So this is the command that we're going to run in our Docker file. So let's copy this. Now back to our Docker file. We're going to run a command. How do we do this? We use the run instruction. Then we paste our command. And instead of mosh, we're going to use app. So we're going to create a group and a user called app, okay? Once we do that, then we can set the user using the user command. So all the following commands will be executed using this user. Let's save the changes and rebuild our image. So here's the build command. Let's go ahead. All right, our image is ready. Now look at the fifth step. That is our run command for creating a new group and a new user. Now you might have noticed that building this image took probably a long time. That was because of this step, installing the dependencies. Now you might argue that earlier we excluded the node modules directory so our builds would be faster, but our builds are still slow because every time we build this image, all these dependencies have to be installed. Don't worry about that. We're going to optimize this later in this section. Now let's start a new container and make sure the current user is the app user, not the root user, okay? So Docker run. In the interactive mode, we're going to run React app and start a shell session. Good. Now, what command should we use to print the current user's name? Do you remember? I told you at the beginning of the Linux section, that is who am I? So the app user, beautiful. Now let's look at something interesting. I'm going to get a long listing. These are the files in our application. Now all these files, as you can see, are owned by the root user. And in this column, you can see the permissions of the root user. So the root user can write to any of these files or directories, but the current user running the session is the app user. So this user falls into the others group. That means the app user is not able to write to any of these files. In contrast, if we executed this application with the root user, a hacker could potentially rewrite something in our application. So we're done with users. Next, we're going to talk about defining entry points.